Hey everyone, it's Chanel Summers here.
Hello everybody, Jackie Graves, nice to meet you.
Hey everyone, Megan Seaforth here, and we are The Collective.
I have two kids. I have a 9-year-old daughter and I have a 20-year-old son. And for her, she hasn't really experienced racism, not in the aspect of its full-blown, I guess, experience. My son, on the other hand, has experienced it from a very young age. Yahara had a situation where she was told that her skin color looked like poo. And that's the only thing she's really experienced. And I had to explain to her that some people just don't know how to express themselves. So I haven't really tackled that with her. But with my son, he's had to go through it from a very young age. And he is in university now and he plays football and he hears it on the football field. And with everything that's happened with George Floyd and with all the other deaths in the United States and in Canada to Black and Indigenous people, I found him he's very angry. And I had to have the conversation with him about the alienation of your anger. And because of the podcast that we have, I was asked to do the piece and I did it. And it brought out a lot in me. It kind of like, I got his anger, basically, because I had my anger and I was upset. And I didn't realize it until I started putting pen to paper kind of thing. I think that I have a group, we have just 6 of us, and the 5 of my colleagues are all white. So I'm the only Black person. And I had a difficult time on one day where it was just, I wasn't being heard. And I think it's a buildup of the week of watching the news, hearing everything, dealing with it in my household, dealing with it in myself, writing it on paper, and then having my friends not know what I'm going through and just go on like business as usual, not realizing that I internalized my own emotions. And then I just had I had a bad day. I had a bad day and it ended up that I just needed to just take a time out, and they were very supportive. I can't tell you without getting emotional how great it's been to see young white people, my colleagues, people that I don't know, step up for my people. I'm one of those people that I get very emotional very quick, and I guess my son gets that from me, and I refuse to watch the video. But with a video like this and people talking about it and the news making it basically porn, it's like constantly showing the poor man taking his last breath. I had no choice but to see it, and seeing it and then going through the process of thinking about, racism isn't something you think about. It's something you experience. And I didn't think about racism. I even told my colleagues when I was at school in that chronicle, I was always the one like making sure my stories represented my people, but never in that chronicle room did I ever feel Black. Like I didn't feel like I had this shadow over me that my colleagues made me feel like one of them. I was just making sure that I represented the things that I wanted to talk about in my stories. This week, even going to the protests in Oshawa, it was so uncomfortable for me, like, because I'm seeing people tell their stories and I have my story. And I was like, I've internalized this stuff. Like, I've never really thought about it until this experience with George Floyd and Ahmaud Arbery. Like, when I saw him being chased in the video, I was like, is this for real? Like, are we in 2020? is this what life is going to be for my 9-year-old daughter? Like, and then the movement started and I was like, okay, I can get behind this. This is good. It's like a roller coaster of emotions. It's like you're angry one day and then you're positive the next, and then you watch his funeral yesterday and you bawl your eyes out. And then, you know, you go about your day and your son brings up something or something's on Instagram and it kind of, it brings it back again. It's a weird time for a Black woman with children, boy or girl, because it doesn't matter what sex you are. They're killing girls too, women too. So moving forward to the protests and the anger in the protests and the BS that's being spewed by certain people, not mentioning them in the White House. But it's like you see that young white America is now standing up for young Black America. And it's like, yo, that never happened before. Like before it was just us fighting for us, but now it's everybody fighting for us. And it's great. I think it's great. I don't know how far it's going to go. I'm a pessimist and sometimes dabbled with a little optimism, but I'm still a pessimist. So I'll just be proven wrong eventually, I guess. All right. I spoke to our MP in Whitby last week, and he said it's an uncomfortable conversation that needs to be had. And he kind of made me, you know, everybody looks at Trudeau and not many people like Trudeau. I just reserve my opinion to neutral. I don't have an issue with him and whatever. But his 20 seconds of silence was processing the question that was asked and then saying what he was feeling as eloquently as a politician could. And it was an uncomfortable question. It was an uncomfortable question for anybody to ask, right? And it's like, but you have to ask it and you have to have the conversation about it. It's like, you can't just, you can have your 20 seconds of silence and then address the situation. You don't even realize your own, God, I hate this freaking phrase so much, white privilege, because you're saying it and you're talking it like it's nothing. And I didn't even realize it until this week, the privilege that others have that they don't even see, that I don't even see on an everyday basis. So both my kids are pleasant surprises, were pleasant surprises. My son I had when I was 23. That is just giving away my age right there, but whatever. But I didn't think about race until he was born. So how it happened with Yusuf was born 2000, April 23rd, 2000. And then all of a sudden he was like almost a year old and 9/11 happened. And then his name is bloody well Yusuf. And he's Black. So put that together and 9/11 and what do you get? Like I just put a target on my son's back without even knowing it. So I was going through having a 9 to 10-month-old and I was like crying. Like I was like, how on earth did I bring you into this world? Like, why did I do this to you? Like, you're going to have to, there's so many obstacles you're going to have to jump over. And I mean, he's 20 and he's done a very good job at it, thankfully. But I mean, for anybody, for any mother, it's not easy, right? But for a Black mother, it's like you've got everything every mother has to deal with. And then you've got the other stuff on top of it. I knew that I had to have the conversation eventually. And let me tell you guys, it was early, man. He came home, he and his friends were pelting stones and one hit a teacher's car, and he was the one that got sent to the office. 2 of his friends got into a fight and he got in the middle of it and he was the one sent to the office because he's the Black boy. So it must be the Black boy's fault. And I put a stop to that so fast. I was like down there saying, I am present, you will see my face. The assumptions that are made about our children because of the color of their skin and the broadness of their nose and their lips are forever ingrained in our brains as mothers, Black mothers. It's so sad. It's so sad for me to say that. It's so sad. The worry and the fear for Yusuf. It's it's every day. He's away from home for school at Western in London, and I worry about him because he's a 6 foot built black boy who plays football, and he walks home from school. He goes to the grocery store. He does all of those things that any other man, black, white, purple, green, would do. But because he's black, I worry about the judgment, the police seeing him walking from Western University and pulling him over just because, or because we all supposedly look the same. So it's that fear. It's the fear of him going to the basketball court, and the video that's circulating about from last year from Durham police, where he's just hanging out with his boys playing basketball, and all of a sudden the police pull up and they're like, for no reason, they want to search you or they want to ask you questions, and you ask them a question. And that is the worst thing you could ever do, is as a black person, ask a police officer a question. I've done it, and I felt like my heart was in my mouth. I go and I say, oh yeah, he's studying actuarial science, because I'm proud. I'm so proud, but I just don't want him to think he's just another athlete that just got a scholarship to go to a school. So he's just going for going's sake. He wants to make it in the NFL. My son would love to make it in the NFL, but he wants to be an actuarial scientist. Don't ask me where he got that ambition from, but that's what he wants to do with his life. But it's always having to say it. Basically, I'm black and I'm proud. I'd say since he got his license, he couldn't leave the house without it, because that's very important. Because if somebody needs to identify you, if a police pulls you over, they need your address and your name, and that is a piece of that card can show that. The other one is just to be conscious of where you are and who you're around, and make sure that if you leave my house and you're telling me that you're going to Ahmed's house, pick up the phone, send me a text, and let me know that you've gone from Ahmed's house to Walmart or McDonald's. But do not leave Ahmed's house and go to McDonald's and I not know. Because if something happens at McDonald's, if a fire happens, if somebody does something, if there's a shooting, I think you're safe at Ahmed's house and you're at McDonald's. I want to give a voice to my people. I want to give a voice to Black mothers. I want to give a voice to my son. I want to give a voice to the young boy walking down the street, minding his business, and all of a sudden, somebody sees him outside and they're like, oh, he's not from here. Let me call the police. And then the police are on him like vultures. I want to give a voice. I want to tell people stories that are the untold stories of people out there. I don't know what I can change, but what I will do is I will put myself in a position, hopefully, fingers crossed, guys, to tell those stories in a truthful and accurate way.